Hello, everyone. I'm Alicia Grace, and this is a radio show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have a really, really special episode, in my opinion, but I hope you're tuning in because you find our guest special and exciting tonight as well. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much. We would love to know. We're always curious of, new people, what brings them in, what our audience likes. If you want to join us in the Discord chat, we'll be hanging out in there, just chatting, I guess. Sorry to be so repetitive, but that's what we will be doing. Commonly, we share a lot of cat pictures, and I don't know, it's just a good time. So if you go to our Linktree, linktree.com/thisisperfectharmony, there's all the little icons along the top, and they'll see one for Facebook and one for Instagram and one for YouTube. I don't even know which all the ones that are up there, but there's one that looks like a little gaming controller. That one is for Discord. You're going to click on that. It's going to lead you right to our thread, and we'll just be hanging out in here. It's always a really good time. And if you're listening to the recording of this, thank you so much. We're sorry you're not going to catch all the awesome music that we're playing. We only use the music for the live episodes, but we will get to hear the interview and everything like that. So, yeah. What else do I got to say? Comment. That's why I was going on about YouTube. If you could please comment on the video, that would really just help us get higher up in the algorithm. So, it's all likes these days. Anyway, so we're going to be giving away 2 signed photos of our guest, Miss Pamela Des Barres. She has graciously donated those to us for this radio show, and we will be giving those away in the Discord. Oh, you know what? Actually, I just changed my mind. We're giving away one of those in the Discord. We're going to give the other one away to a YouTube listener. So go ahead and comment if you're listening to the YouTube recording. Just comment. Well, should I be telling you this in the beginning? Because I'm not going to. Well, hopefully just stay for the whole thing, please. Comment on it. Let us know that you heard we're giving one away to a YouTube winner. Because we will not be sharing that or announcing that. That'll be the only information you get by listening to my voice in this exact moment. But yeah, if you're tuning in live, it will be in the Discord, but we'll give that away a little bit later in the episode. Okay. I think that's about all my scripted, non-scripted ramble that I do in the beginning. Can you tell that interaction on the interwebs is really important to us? Because it is. It does suck how much opportunities and stuff are based around your numbers online. It doesn't really show the quality of your work. But anyway, that's a whole tangent I can get into, but I will not. But yeah, if you just really want to show up and support some women just trying to make it in the music industry, show us a little love online. All right. Well, before we dive into our guest and what we're chatting about and everything here, I want to play I would like to play a song for you by our featured artist for tonight. Tonight we are hearing tracks from a band called Lord Friday the 13th. They are based out of Austin, and I had the opportunity to meet Sloan when I was down there when I first took Miss P's writing workshop. Her and her brother were gracious enough to send over some tracks for us to play for you tonight. I'm going to set the mood with their song Big Business. I think this is the amp up song we really need to get tonight going, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about Pamela Des Barres, and we're all just going to have a grand old time, okay? I absolutely loved that song. That was so much fun. I had previewed all the tracks before we got playing, but I definitely did not catch the end there with the harmonica. That was great. Oh, thank you so much, Salone and Felix, for sending these songs over. We have 4 more songs to play for y'all this weeknight, I guess, tonight, by Lord Friday the 13th. But let's dive into our interview with Miss Pamela. For those of you who don't know, but most of you should, Pamela Des Barres Des Barres. Sorry. Blech. You know, I say it right, and then I keep messing it up as soon as I try and get serious. We'll change that later. So Miss P is a legendary groupie of the early days of rock and roll, the musician's muse. To this day, she remains a muse, but to aspiring writers and journalists like myself. I find this woman to be very raw and real, probably one of the rawest and realest people I've met in the music space. And she hosts writing workshops across the United States for fem-identifying folks who she tenderly refers to as dolls. And she encourages those who attend to be unapologetically themselves. And she is having her Minneapolis workshop debut on July 29th and 30th. And we hope to convince you to join us with this interview. So I had the chance to talk with her earlier today, and we are going to play out this interview for y'all. And I'll jump back in with some more music and probably some unnecessary commentary. All right. Okay. And then, too, like when we get your life for a really long time, but was there a moment when you were like, oh, I have a story worth publishing, or this is something I want to pursue professionally?
There were moments in my life when I was living those days and carrying that diary around that I knew how important those moments I was having with these musicians were, and that people would be interested in it sometime later. I mean, I always knew that where I was, who I was with, the vibe in the universe at the time was so important and so unique and wouldn't last forever, that I would people would be interested in the way I was living and how I was living my life. So I always had the inkling of, yeah, someday I'm probably going to share this stuff. I was an English major in high school. I mean, it was my I always loved books and words. I belonged to book clubs as a kid, and I was always writing. My mom got me that my first diary when I was 8 for Christmas, and so I felt obligated to write in it. And then I realized it became like a friend, which brings me all the way to the women's workshops I teach today. How important it is to keep your thoughts down. It really helps to express them, get them on the page. And sometimes if it's painful stuff, which is a lot of that in my book and in my diaries, it helps to let it go.
Yeah.
And in the other side of it is to capture those joyful moments too for all time. So you can go back and read them and go, wow, that was amazing.
Do you think any of your peers at that time also recognized that they were kind of living through a monumental time?
Certainly my girls, the GTOs did. The girls in my all girl band, the GTOs, Girls Together Outrageously, that we most of them kept journals, especially Mercy. Mercy's diary, she named, she had names for her diaries. God, she was great. So we kept our diaries together. And yeah, a lot of girls were at that time because the diary was something you'd get as a gift, and I'm just glad I kept it up. And I later started calling them journals because I thought that sounded more mature, and they became really important to me.
Yeah, I really like that idea of like actually naming your diary. I'm like, I have like four going right now. And if I had a way to distinguish them besides my
Ah,
brainstorming journal versus my, feelings journal, that would be really cool. So a word that, you've used and like I've also used to describe your writing is shameless. Do you Where do you believe you picked up that trait in your writing, or was that something you feel like you've always had and just like being able to be fully honest and shameless on the page?
huh. I've never been. The word shameless hasn't ever come up with my writing.
Oh,
It just, I was just writing my experiences, and I wasn't holding back. Especially in diaries, you don't hold back, right? So I was used to writing in that way anyway. Excuse me. where you just let it all out. So it just came naturally to continue working that way when I started writing the actual book itself. And the way that first book came about is that I did an interview with a fellow, Stephen Davis, who was writing a book on Zeppelin. It was one of the first, like, sort of tell-all rock and roll books from that about that era. And halfway through the interview, he said, "You have a book. You should write your own book." And it was kind of the encouragement I needed at that time. My son was finally started school. He was 5, 6 at the time. And also I was taking writing workshops, which I did every once in a while, just to brush up on, just to keep me writing. And the teacher, the first few pages I turned in was about meeting stones. And she said, "Wow, you should work on this. You should make this, turn this into something." So both those things happened simultaneously. And I finally said, "Okay, I've got to write this." It was always I knew, like I mentioned, the time frame, the people I was with, the music being played at the time, the free love and all that needed to be written about because I was right in the thick of it all.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because I feel like, at least for me personally in my writing, it's like when I'm writing for others or something that I know is going to be read, I tend to hold back. And I just, and then the diary is something completely different for me. So I just think it's absolutely amazing how you like continued to be vulnerable in both spaces. Um, and that's just like, yeah, that's just it's inspiring, honestly, which is also a big thing I got out of your workshop of the last one I took too, is how
Mhm.
to take that vulnerability, that shamelessness, that kind of just like put it all out there. And
I'm sure you noticed the other women in the group doing the same thing. So,
yes,
so what? I don't know how I create this energy in the room. Probably because most people have read my books or at least know of them, and they feel comfortable that I've already told my tale, right? So I don't know, it's just an energy I create. Maybe you could describe it because you were there in the room. It's a safe place to reveal your innermost. I mean, the stuff that people write in class, um, they have never told anyone sometimes.
yeah,
It's something so personal and deep, and but once it comes out, it's so cathartic. And also to listen to each other, you go, "Oh my God, we're all in this together." My reason for living really in this reality is to remind people who they really are. It's good because we're all one. We're all connected. We're all the same entity. We're all the same blood. We're all the same. I mean, why not be comfortable with each other and appreciate each other? So it's my reason for living is to bring people together somehow.
yeah. And I think there's also an element of being around other people who like take that step to
Mhm.
be as that open, that really encouraged me, and I hope encourages other people to also be as open. It's like a little bit of peer pressure. I was reflecting recently with someone about the first time I actually rode a roller coaster, and it was on a group trip to Six Flags,
Uh,
and all before
yeah.
that I was like, no. And then when everybody was like, we're getting on this roller coaster, I was like, well, I guess I'm doing it. And it's the same
Yeah.
with writing and expressing yourself, it being a space where everybody can do that.
And I usually agree with Stephen King because he's a hero of mine, but he says you are either born a writer or not. And I totally disagree with that. I think everyone can write. And I think all you have to do is write it. All you have to do. And that's been proven so many times that I've been teaching for 23 years now. And I don't really call it teaching either, as you may know. I call it allowing. I allow people to express themselves in my presence and each other's presence. And the the stuff that comes out, the revelations that people have in class. It is a writing workshop, and you get a lot of writing done. But I call it groupie therapy because it's very therapeutic, to get this stuff out with each other. And also, the girls that come to workshop are totally kindred spirits.
Hmm.
They all love music. They all want to be free, you know. They even no matter what age they are, they wish they'd been at a love-in. So so I represent that on some level.
And you said you've been teaching these workshops for 23 years now?
Yeah.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
and the first time I did it, how it happened was Moon Zappa, who I've known her whole entire life. She is a writer. What an amazing writer! Her book, her true story book's about to come out. Oh boy! But she invited me. She told me about a teacher. I like to brush up in between my books, like I was mentioning earlier. And I went to this class in the valley. This really nice lady, and really another. It was like halfway through it again. I said, I could be teaching this. There's really no reason I couldn't be doing this myself. And I've always wanted to be my own product and not have to work for anyone. I had a bunch of lame jobs when I was young, and so this helped me uh, bring in the money while doing something I love and believe in. In fact, it's the best thing I've ever done are these workshops because I see how they help people, how they remind people of who they really are and what they can do and how they can express themselves. So, yeah. But the first time I was very nervous, and I used to be a really frightened public speaker. And now it doesn't bother me at all. But it was because of the classes I had to sit there and pontificate to strangers, even if it was only a few at in the beginning. And it just gradually made me comfortable being a public speaker. Thank God, because I do quite a bit of it. But it used to just the first time I spoke at NYU, I do speaking engagements, by the way, if anyone's listening, uh, who wants to hire me. But the first time I spoke at NYU, I was so scared. For weeks in advance, I was petrified about what I was going to say, how it was going to come across. Would I know what to say? Would I remember the order of my life to share? And it went fine, but I was scared to death. So the classes have really helped me to get over that. But as they walked in, these brave girls, I always think of them as really courageous, brave women coming into these classes. And it just the interaction between all of them and each other, you are vulnerable. So you just let your hair down somehow. It's just amazing. It's not like going to a college writing workshop with a professor. It's kind of the opposite of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the next questions I had for you. And if you want to expand on this a little bit more, but um, what has been some of the other rewarding aspects for you of teaching these or leading these workshops?
Well, a lot of the girls have gone on to write books and certainly articles and essays and things like that. And I have a book. We're going to have an annual anthology of my writer's work, and the first one came out um, late last year, and we're doing another anthology, so they're getting published, and it really makes them feel good about themselves, makes them proud. And not only that, when the people who read this work, it's it will encourage them to express themselves. So, and also I've made so many friends. I mean, I can't imagine people. I'm a certain age now, right? And most people in my age group are not as active as I am, and have boundless friends all over the world because we get really close, the girls who are writing, and they get close to each other. That's been another thing. I've helped many best friendships come to fruition, and lifelong friendships by meeting in these workshops. So that was a real bonus.
Yeah, and that's like something, we all crave. We all crave connection and
Yeah.
finding people with like-minded
Yes.
interests, things like
Yes. It's
that. And
wonderful. And another thing, like in Chicago, where I'm going soon, um, I have an 86-year-old lady and a girl in her early 20s. So there's the connection between women. The age means nothing. What you do for a living means nothing. If you're married or not, or gay or straight or what, none of it matters, because the connection between the women's souls is so profound. It's, the at one point, this lady in her 80s, we had an 18-year-old in class, and it made no difference. They just love each other. It's just like the connection, like you mentioned, is so, it's hard to describe. So whoever's listening to this, please come to these workshops. You're going to enjoy yourself. I promise.
And I can vouch for it too. I truly think that the one I partook partook in it
Yeah.
this last Christmas down in Austin really kind of like ignited a little bit of a like kind of desire in myself to like write my own story. Typically a lot of my
Yeah.
writing is like telling other people's stories, you know. I'm like
Yeah.
interviewing and doing this
Yeah.
and I'm it's like, "Oh, well I have a story to tell. I have experiences and I can articulate that just as well, if not better, than somebody else's story."
Well, we all have our story. Every single person has their story, right? Edna St. Vincent Millay, I believe it was her, yeah, that never left her home, right? She, poet, amazing poet. She's never left her home. She
Hmm.
lived in a beautiful spot in the woods and wrote about it. And she had her own story to tell without interacting with very many people at all. And it doesn't we all have a story, and it's all worth telling. That's part of my whole, our stories are worth telling. Don't sit on them. Share them. Even
Uh,
if you're sharing them with yourself or family members later, just to know how your life went.
I want to go back to the collection of stories from your dolls. The book is called Miss Pamela's Writing School for Electric Ladies. Uh, what kind of stories are in there? What kind of stories get
Life,
published?
life stories. I give prompts, a lot of them to do with your childhood, with your feelings about your parents, with about, your first date, your first record you ever bought, romantic liaisons, I mean, your ideas and principles, whatever. It's just life stories, all kinds of life stories that stem from the prompts I give in class.
And when is the second volume? Is there like a published date set or
It's
is that near
tentative right
future?
now. I have my girls send them to my editor over at Riverdale Press. Her name is Camilla. She does the editing. There's no way I could do it, because it'd be like Sophie's Choice for me. There's no way I could choose. There's just no way. So I have a wonderful editor, and Lori Perkins is the publisher, and it's just another wonderful thing that's happened in my life, because Lori was coming to class in New York, and she runs a publishing house, and things like that just happen.
Wow.
And it's our second anthology. It'll be out later in the year. It's being edited now, so
Oh.
it's really thrilling. And every year you should really come. We have what I call Doll Con. This is our fourth annual Doll Con, where the girls from all over the country and London, sometimes, hopefully this time, and of course Canada, we all meet up in a certain city. We've done Vegas so far, but this is our first time in New Orleans, so pretty thrilling.
Yeah,
And we write for 2 evenings, and then during the day we go check out the town and see what's happening. So this year it's 5 to 9, so we're also going out after writing too, because we're in New
fun.
Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some posts about that. How many people do you usually have show up for DollCon? Or how many
Between
do you expect?
25 and 30, and it's just two evenings of writing and 3 days of fun, and we try to stay in the same hotel. And we this time we're meeting in a club. I always fly by the seat of my skirt, man. I'm telling you. I just it's the preparations just fall together sometimes, because I do so much stuff for someone in my age group. It's hard to even keep track of myself. It really is.
Yeah, and I see too you're gonna have some music, you have some performers this year as well. Someone sent over to me that you'll have some people playing music. So it really sounds like just kind of an all around.
Oh yeah, and then
experience.
we go see the sights too. We're actually going to Graham Parsons' grave this time.
Mm.
He's pretty near there. That's not where he wanted to be buried, or but anyway, that's where he is. It took me a long time to even get myself there because he didn't want it. But I
Mm.
realized his spirit is flying free, and I went there, and it was very moving actually. So I'm whoever Graham fans are there are going to go with me to that.
That'll be beautiful.
We have a ghost tour we're going to go on and stuff like that too.
Ooh. If
Yeah.
someone's interested in attending, they can find the info on your webpage for DollCon.
Well, they can only come if they've been to other workshops.
So they gotta come to the Chicago or
Yeah.
Minneapolis one this week.
That's right. Or I have a Tuesday night Zoom workshops every other Tuesday. And a lot of those girls are coming. So I get
Oh,
to finally meet them for the first time in person and hug them. Always
which
thrilled.
which Tuesdays is that? Is it the first and third or second and fourth?
It changes because I travel a lot.
That
But
makes sense.
yeah, the next one is this coming Tuesday. And just find me on one of my social media platforms and say, yeah, I want to come.
Yeah, what a great option for those who may not have an in-person workshop in their city
Yeah,
happening.
yeah, for sure. And that's always crowded. I always have between 10 and 15 people there, sometimes more. And so it depends on how many prompts we can do a night, depending on how many people show up. And it's $40. My prices are low.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. So do you find like the same level of vulnerability and openness in the virtual class as in
Yes,
person?
yes, it's just astounding. That's why I think it's something to do with my energy. Very welcoming. I'm real relaxed. Um, when the new girls show up, they listen to the others who've been coming for a long time. I have girls who've been coming since, I started during the pandemic because we couldn't travel. And I have girls coming for the 2.5 years already. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So those girls have been coming for a while, and then the new ones, and they hear people's stories and they go, oh, okay, this is cool. And the, there is fear the first time they have to read.
Oh
There's
yeah.
nervousness, yeah, but that goes away right after the first time they read.
Wow, what do y'all think so far? It's kind of funny listening to my own interviews back because I find myself laughing in person at the same things I like laughed at in the recording or like chuckled at or something. And I don't know, I guess I'm consistent. Yeah, so don't forget, y'all, we're giving away 2 signed photos of Pamela. We'll be giving away one in the Discord chat, so jump on over there and hang out with us. There's only a few people, so your chances are looking pretty good. And we'll also be giving one away to a YouTube listener. So if you're tuning in on YouTube, yeah, leave that comment. Don't hesitate. Someone may beat you to it. But yeah, let's hear another song from Lord Friday the 13th. This one is called St. Judy. They do not miss. They do not miss. Another great song by Lord Friday the 13th. That one is called St. Judy. Yeah, and I don't know, let's just jump right back into this interview. Um, it was a real pleasure getting to talk with Pamela, and I really hope from that first little bit of the interview, y'all can understand and feel some of the excitement I feel with this workshop coming up. And also know any of my friends, or really just any of my listeners who are not my friends yet, but will be, that are listening and maybe want to attend this workshop but do not live in Minneapolis. Hit me up, let me know. You can stay with me. Honestly, we'll figure something out. I would really love for everybody to attend. I think this will be a really good time. Or I know it'll be a real time. I need to be more affirming on my statements. Anyway, let's get back to this interview.
Yeah. That is really cool. I love to hear that virtual space fills that same
Yes,
sense of community.
surprisingly, I didn't know it would. Of course, we don't know, but it was the same. It's just like being in the room. Yeah.
So, a little bit onto another topic. So you've done a lot of work to kind of reclaim the word groupie. It's how have you seen the connotation with that word change over the years?
When it became a word, I'd already been doing it for a couple of years. So all of a sudden I was called something. Uh, and at first it was just a word. It was like, oh, okay, I'm a groupie. Yeah, I'm hanging out with these groups here. That's all it was. And then it just got negative right away. For a little while I tried to disown it, but that was brief. Um, because, we were seen as loose women who would do anything to have sex with a rock star. And that is just not what it is. And so I've been trying to reclaim it. Just another word for love. You love the music, period. If you're a real groupie, you want to be with a musician because you love their music. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to mean sleep with them either. There were so many times that we hung out with bands, the GTOs especially, and me later. I've made shirts for them, for the Burrito Brothers, for the Birds, and all that. But it's just being with them. I always wanted to, you're so moved by someone's art. You want to get to know that person. Where does it come from? Uh,
Yeah.
can I do that? Is there any way I could learn something by being with this person so I can do it? There's so much to it. There's so much to being a groupie that it's only perceived as sleeping with them.
Yeah.
And that's just like any relationship. That's part of it, hopefully, if you get involved with them. But there are girls like Sweet Connie, who she's in my documentary, in my book, Let's Spend the Night Together. And she was willing to do anything to get near him. And she just loved the whole vibe of it. She would, give head to guitar techs and they loved it. She just wanted to be with them, right? And that's her business. So why would anyone give her shit for that? But she got a lot of shit. And other groupies who were happy just to spend whatever time they could with them and engage in whatever they wanted to do. Nothing's wrong with that either. I just wanted to be involved with them in one way or another. Like the whole Jeff Beck group played on our record. And Graham Parsons and I were just friends. I was in love with Hillman, and Graham and I spent a lot of amazing quality time together. And I remember, for those of you who don't know who Graham Parsons is, look him up. One of my things in life is to share him. And I promised him right after he died, I went and stayed in his room in Joshua Tree, slept in the bed, did the whole thing, and promised him I'd carry his music on, which is what I'm doing. So there's a
Yeah.
whole lot more to being a groupie, okay? A whole lot
Yeah.
more.
I agree. Especially as someone who, I'm trying to kind of make my way in the music industry and sometimes even as a journalist, as a woman journalist too, get kind of discounted as like, oh, you're just a groupie. Like your end goal is sex. And it's
Yes,
like,
just a groupie, just. That is
yeah,
such a put down.
it is. It is. It's like because we're all there because we love the music and we're
Yes, and of
all
course bands, if you talk to most bands, if they're being honest, they want you there. You're the reason they're writing that music.
exactly.
Oh,
And
anyway,
I've
we're-
started kind of telling that to people too, and they're like too nervous to approach an artist or, say something to them or shoot that email. I'm like, do it because
yeah,
they wouldn't have the platform, they wouldn't have the impact
yeah,
if it wasn't for you being touched by this piece of art. So let them
yes.
know.
One of my writers who's been coming for 13 years to class, her daughter, I've listened to her daughter's shenanigans all these years, and now she's in her late 20s, and that's how she meets rock stars is on Instagram and various platforms, and they interact and then they get together, and that's how that's how it happens now a lot of the time.
Yep.
With bigger rock stars who you can't just approach. you can't approach rock stars like I used to just go walk into the door of the whiskey and just sit on Mick Jagger's lap. You can't do that anymore.
Yep,
Yeah.
new times, new avenues. Still connecting you with the art in one way or another.
Yep. Sure.
So, in addition to your workshops, you've mentioned that you do public speaking. I know you host rock tours, closet shops, your
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Um, you have a lot of ventures. When did all of that come about? Like, what came first for you? What's been the most recent?
I gosh, I guess when I started having workshops, I also shop my product. I have sold, I have optioned. I'm with the band a dozen times to get it made as a movie or TV show. Right now, it is with my dear friend Melanie's daughter, Dakota Johnson's Tea Time Productions. So, but of course, there's a big strike going on.
Yeah.
Something always seems to prevent it. I just hope it happens in my lifetime. So I am always shopping my products, myself, my products of you know. But I guess the writing workshops came first 23 years ago, and at one point, some very wealthy British guy contacted me in an email and said, my best friend's turning 40. We're always trying to one up each other on our birthdays. Can I hire you for the day to take us around in a car to the sites, and I'm with the band, and tell us about what happened there? I said, wow, what a great idea. So they came to town, picked me up in a Rolls limo, took me around to Laurel Canyon, the Sunset Strip. I read out of my book and told stories. They took me to the Polo Lounge for dinner and handed me $5,000
Oh my God.
for the day in $100 bills. And it was like, okay, I'm going to do something with this. So I started doing rock and roll tours about 13, 14 years ago. And I take a bunch of fans around in a bus, a big van. I have a great driver named Kip Brown, my James Dean friend, fanatic. And we take people around and tell stories, and they love it. It's a van full of like 12 people, and I do them every few weeks. And it's becoming way more important. It's very few people left from my time who were at Love-Ins, who did stand in front of Jimi Hendrix at the whiskey. They want to hear about it. They're it's like mythology now.
Yeah.
So that's always a full van. And so I do that. I do all these nutty things to make a living. And I for my whole life, I've gone to thrift stores and collected vintage clothes. The GTOs only wore vintage clothes. And in those days, you could get turn of the century, communion dresses. In fact, that's what I got married in. But I invite people actually to my patio to look through hundreds, thousands, really, pieces of vintage clothes, and they try them on for me, and then we get all excited, and they buy them. It's another way I make a living.
That
Travel
sounds like so
all
much
over.
fun.
I know. I just had two girls come last night, and they found things they just could not find anywhere else. Okay, curated by me. So, yeah, I do a lot of stuff.
Wow. I love hearing about all the different things that she does. Truly all across the board. And like, honestly, that's my dream too. And just to like do what I really enjoy doing, but not being like one thing every single day all the time. Like a magic bag, and magic bag of tricks. That's the phrase I was looking for. But yeah, so hey, I think we should give away one of those signed photos. Just a reminder, we're giving away one here in the Discord chat, as well as one to a YouTube video commenter. If you have to comment, I want the poster or something. I don't know. Let us know that you actually heard that that's what's happening. Don't just comment hi or something. I don't know. And please, too, if you're listening tonight, well, I guess yeah. I guess if you're listening tonight and you want to go listen to the YouTube recording and comment on it, you can do that, because you'll have to also be watching our socials to see when the episode goes live, or you can follow us on YouTube and get notified right away. Anyway, let's give one of the photos away to someone who comments in the Discord chat the name of Pamela's first book. It's an easy question. The first one to comment the name of Pamela Des Barres' first book will win one of the signed photos. We're gonna go ahead and listen to a song while y'all fight over that. All right, let's go. That was Bigots Beware by Lord Friday the 13th. These songs are just banging track after track. Salome, thank you so much for sending these over for us to use tonight. We do have a winner in the chat. A Send Off is their username. They will be winning one signed photo of Miss P, which she will bring when she hosts the workshop, and we'll be sure to get that to you. Let's jump on back to this interview. We got about another 10 minutes of my chat with Miss P. We'll dive in a little bit more about her life and her workshops and such. And then I am going to share with y'all a little piece I wrote after I attended my first writer's workshop. It was the first one I'd ever been to, so I had literally no idea what to expect. So I want to share a little bit of my journal with y'all, as Miss P has shamelessly and very openly inspired me to do. So let's go.
So something that I've kind of noticed through both like interviewing people, what I've like seen in social media groups and just lots of other examples, there seems to be this common experience had by women that they're introduced to the music scene or music spaces by men. And I think that makes these like women-centered spaces and projects like the GTOs and the workshops really important. Um, but how have you kind of seen um, like how have you seen these types of spaces impact women in general, just like within music?
I'm not quite sure what spaces you're talking about besides my workshops.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Kind of just like I've seen kind of like different like music festivals will implement like women only meetups, or they'll
Hmm.
have just like different types of things that kind of encourage community amongst women. And I'm just like curious, have you kind of like noticed through the years any kind of change in the culture of music as women are kind of coming together and finding commonality and like creating these relationships and like coming into these spaces, not because they're introduced by male counterparts, but kind of like the people they identify with?
Well, I think just being together, that's why we called it the Girls Together Outrageously. I think women just being together gives them a lot more strength and power. And, just by witnessing one another, we realize, we can do anything we ever want to do. When you're with a group, it's very powerful. And it makes a huge difference in how you see men.
Yeah.
Men, we love them, but we don't have to uh do anything we don't want to do with any man.
Exactly. Preach. Preach. Um, I know for me personally, kind of like entering spaces, like your workshop, seeing like GTOs being, memorialized and such, for me, it really makes me feel kind of like less alone in this passion. It makes me kind of
Yeah,
feel,
yeah, that's sort of what I was trying to say. Yeah, we're all in it together. Women seem to realize that more than men. Men can compartmentalize much easier than we can or even want to. And it's just it's strength. It's a lot of strength. There's so much like estrogen. When you walk into one of my groups, like in Portland recently, I had like 17, 18 people. And very few of them knew each other. But within moments, because we bring snacks and wine or whatever. And it's like a writing party, of course, is what I call them too. but just the incredible female energy permeating this any room is just men are afraid of that.
And it does, yeah, I think it does create like a lot of power and a lot of kind of switching that narrative of, you know, just groupies to like a strong, empowered
Yeah.
group of people.
Well,
I think
and
that's really cool.
I am not one of those people because of my mother gave me such a strong foundation of love and acceptance. I I just didn't ever see women being lesser than men. And I never thought about, I of course had tons of Me Too experiences. And it's just that that's the way it was then. But I didn't let it change my idea of who I was or who a woman was. I always had equal equal rights in my mind, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just very, very fortunate with the mother I had.
Ah, I love that. So we did have one audience question for you.
Okay.
And one of our followers on social media wanted to know what is your favorite memory from working with Frank Zappa?
Uh, oh, God, there's so many.
Yeah.
But, being in the studio, of course, I lived at the house for years, so I had tons of personal interaction with him that is just indescribable. But working with him in the studio was really a profound thing. I mean, he would direct us with a baton, and anytime you could make him laugh or make him happy was such a great moment. It was, and you know, the GTOs were able to do that quite a bit. He thought we were real characters. The idea that he wanted to preserve us for eternity was so fantastic. He would often take moments in time and events and places and save it. That's, I think that's one of the reasons he started his label. But anyway, he wanted to save these bunch of nutty girls living in Laurel Canyon. And when you really made him happy, he'd pick you up off the floor and squeeze you so tight, literally cracked your back, gave you a chiropractic. He was very naive about drugs, so he never took them, and he never didn't understand when someone was super high either. So I got away with Moida there, let's say. He didn't know when I was high real often. Once I had to tell him I had the flu, and he was so naive about drugs. He believed me. But anyway, I've had so many experiences with Frank, but being in the studio was really something. But there was one time, boy, was I upset about this. Chris and Graham, Flying Burrito Brothers, Birds, came to our session, and of course, for me, that was the unbelievable thrill. We had been to their recording sessions, and I saw them play more times than I can even count. So when they showed up in our studio, all the way out in Glendale, they came from Hollywood and asked Frank if they could be on our record. And he said no. He said no, thank you. And Mercy and I were like, but you don't go against your producer. You know, he's the one, he's producing the record. And Graham even said, can I play tambourine? And he wouldn't say yes. And we were so distraught. But they stuck around. And that was one of my favorite moments with Graham is he took us into a small studio during a break and played songs for us with those amazing hands.
Mm.
So if you want to know more stories about my life, you can read on with the band or read any of my other 4 books, now 5 with my girls writing, and I just finished a 6th. So yeah, please look me up.
Yes. Um, so, and this is a question more so for myself. I'll count it as an audience question, but a favorite book of mine that really introduced me to like the 60s and 70s culture was the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. And a lot of our previous guests on the show has kind of referenced that as like kind of a monumental book for them as well, of like knowing that era. And so I'm curious. I know in I'm with the band, you did describe one experience going to Heighton Ashbury, and kind of the hippie scene. But did you ever have any other experiences going to see the Grateful Dead or down in that area, San Francisco, or was that kind of it for you?
Well, I hitchhiked there a lot of weekends, but the San Francisco sound wasn't really my thing. It was too non-specific, a lot of it. There was too much, like the Grateful Dead jam. I was never a jam band person, for instance. I admire them all, of course, and I love Janis Joplin. But I went up there for the love-ins. I was there at the first love-in, which was called A Human Being.
Mm,
And my remembrance of that was Allen Ginsberg reading poetry. I also came from I loved Kerouac and Ginsberg and Ferlinghetti, their poetry, and Henry Miller's writing. A lot of the that this pre-hippie, but Kerouac had a lot to do. The beat people had a lot to do with pushing us into some freedom there. So
yeah.
that's the kind of reading I was doing back then.
Yeah. Awesome. So, if people are interested in partaking in your Minneapolis class, or writing workshop, how can they sign up?
They just go to my website, PamelaDesBarresOfficial.com. You may have to spell it for them, dear.
Yeah, I'll put it in our chat for them.
And there's this place there to sign up. It'll say Miss Pamela's Minneapolis classes. And we are meeting 2 evenings right in town, apparently. I always teach in a student's home, usually. Sometimes in a hotel room if I'm staying in one, but I stay with a student usually, and I'm hosted by a student. So this is at someone's home, a really groovy home. They're always beautiful girls like you, and uh, and it's from like 7 to 10, 10:30, and we hang out and we groove and we write and we read the writing, and there's commentary, but there is no judgment of any kind. There is no criticism, and I say all that right away, so people are more less fearful to write if they know they're not going to be judged or criticized. So,
Yeah.
and then they're free to express.
Yes.
It's not like college.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
PamelaDesBarresOfficial.com, and I'll see you there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and chatting with me. I will definitely be at the workshop, and I hope some of our listeners
Hey,
decide to join as well.
I'm happy to see you again, honey.
Yes. Ah, thank you so much, Miss P.
Okay. Mwah. Lots of love, honey. And thank you for having me. It
Of
was
course.
fun.
Of course.
Okay. Yay, what do y'all think? I'm over here grinning. Um, I'm always so hard on myself when I have to listen to my own interview back. But that was a really cool opportunity to talk to someone I really respect, and has really been an inspiration for me. And I hope you draw some inspiration, even if it's just, from listening to this interview or maybe attending one of her online writing classes or the one upcoming July 29th and 30th here in Minneapolis. Or even if you find yourself out in LA attending one of her rock tours or shopping her closet. I really think Pamela is kind of just really the epitome of what I'm trying to do over here myself. So yeah, please go enjoy any of those. Purchase her books. I'm gonna purchase the next one I'm gonna purchase is the How to Write a Rockin' Memoir. And it came out before the compilation book, but yeah, I'm kind of excited to be a little bit more just like insight and things to kind of hold on to and feel inspired by. I did promise y'all some of my writing, but first we are going to listen to another song by Lord Friday the 13th. This is their track, Patent Leather. Right, that was Patent Leather by Lord Friday the 13th. Um, Yeah, and like promised, I'm just going to read a little bit about something I wrote on my plane ride home from this Christmas, or this past Christmas. I went down there, spent it with my family, and that's where I also attended Pamela's workshop. Yeah, I guess instead of just summarizing what I'm about to read, I'm just going to read it. And then we'll be ending tonight's show a little bit early. Jenna and I and the Perfect Harmony team have been prepping like crazy for this weekend. We're doing about 24 hours of radio over 2 days at a music festival. We bit off a chunk. So we're going to just use this little extra time tonight to pack up the school bus. I'm kind of hungry.
Same.
Cool. Should we do like an oven pizza or Taco Bell?
My brain literally was like Taco Bell.
Yeah, she wants Taco Bell. It's almost become a little bit of a
Tradition.
Usually we're like prep for the episode, we're gonna grab Taco Bell and then come sit down and do our episode, especially on the nights we don't have guests and we do kind of like a setup like this. But I enjoy it. It's like, it's a good way to, I don't know, it's felt really good since I've just reserved Wednesdays for radio stuff. It's like, and both of us, honestly, like it's been really cool just like having one day. And you know, the goal and the dream is we're going to start making a little money doing this. And then we're going to have 2 days a week we do Perfect Harmony stuff. And then we're going to have 3 days a week we do Perfect Harmony stuff. And then we got to cut down our hours at our day job. And then before not the day job. And we're just gonna...
The one day we'll rule the radio waves.
We'll rule the radio waves. So anyway, if you want to support those dreams, you can go to our webpage. And we have a little button on the right side. You can leave us some funds if you would like. It helps to pay for our domain renewal, our subscriptions to Linktree and Spotify, and we'll need to actually upgrade the site pretty soon. We're actually almost at our capacity of number of posts we can make under this plan. So pretty cool problem to have. You know, we've been going at Perfect Harmony since 2017. And as we've, you know, the content we've created has always kind of been under the same umbrella, but it's definitely shifted over the years. But I think we're really onto something. So if you want to help us stay on it and keep on it and jump on it,
Jump on it. I'll get a link in that chat.
Yeah, you can go over there. So we'll drop that in the Discord chat. We want to say a huge thank you to Fuzzy, the host of Fuzz Talk Radio, based out of Mankato, Minnesota. If you want to show some support for our station, he has really cool t-shirts. Or you can just make a little, buy him a coffee. I don't know. There's lots of things you can do on his webpage. We'll also be throwing up that in the chat. That is Fuzz, F-U-Z-Z, talkradio.com. Yeah, thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. Can you tell I'm like putting off reading what I wrote? I'm like literally sitting here with my real Barbie RV. Yes, that's a real RV journal, which I'll be just vulnerable with you.
Pack.
I do have to pack too. So maybe it's not the journal reading I'm putting off. It might be the packing because I've been putting that off for like. Well, I haven't been putting it off. I've been doing other things. Anyway, we'll go down this rabbit hole if you would like, but I have a feeling you would much rather hear me read, and Jenna would much rather go start packing the bus. So I wrote this December 23rd, 2022. My first writer's workshop. I walked up to the door after giving my mom a car hug goodbye. She had got my spot for me for Christmas. Both of us unsure of what to expect. The sticky note on the door read, "Come on in, dolls." I was greeted by Ringo, a little black and white dog, who yapped at each new doll as they entered. I smiled a quick hello at the 5 to 6 people already there and unloaded my vegan Christmas cookies, hummus, and carrots among an already beautiful spread. The host, Shannon, introduced herself, and I grabbed a soda water and a seat in the living room. She was there, in the flesh, the groupie queen herself, Pamela. She sat in a lazy boy with an elbow on each armrest, with a glass of red wine in one hand. She wore her hair down, bell bottoms, bangles up her left arm, and a green long-sleeve velvet shirt, silently affirming my choice to wear my thrift store black velvet leggings. Her fur coat was draped over the back of her chair. I was under the impression from our email chain that there would only be 4 of us present for the workshop. I was wrong. Upon my arrival, an oppressive 7-ish minutes early, there were 6 stalls there, including myself. I was the youngest one in attendance thus far, and was high on the prospect of gleaming some knowledge from these other dolls. Margaret, who sat to my right, was quick to be friendly with me. She shared how she grew up blocks from Pamela. She shared about her loneliness, and I mentally vowed to get her information, to reach out to her to share my music escapades deemed too raunchy to share with my mother. As we sat there, a few more people arrived. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading my own writing. A few more people arrived. Miss P graciously awaited to start until everybody got there. I wish I could remember the verbatim language Miss P used to open up the workshop, as it inspired shameless sharing, unedited writing, and, above all, kindness to ourselves. It reminded me immediately of our house fund jar back home that asked for a $50 deposit in the case of negative self-talk. And I'm going to leave it at that. There's a couple more pages. But I will leave it at that because this is my journal and my diary, and I can read of it however much of it I want. So anyway, maybe I'll explain that more to myself than everybody else, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go pack for Base Ribbon Pines. If you're going to be there, please stop by the school bus. You can see a little bus on the blue bus on the map of the festival grounds. It's really cute. We can't wait to share with you everything we've been prepping and doing for that. So thank you again for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week.